everyone. Welcome to episode 70 of the Design Freaks podcast. My name is Clarita. I am the host. I'm a graphic designer, and I like to talk about music industry, art, design, album packaging, etc. Today, I have such a great episode with the amazing artist and designer ELOISE LEIGH.
New Age Rage.
From Dark Entries Records and a bunch of other places. As we're entering the darkness of the year, I got so lucky to talk to her. Amazing interview. And I've been wanting to do an episode on what it's like to work for and design for a reissue label. Since the beginning of this podcast, I've been super curious about that. So creative origins, how she got her start designing books, passion for zines, etc. We didn't even get into the witchy stuff, which is something else I'm endlessly drawn to. You know, her beautiful prayer cards. There's just too many cool things about ELOISE to fit into one podcast, but that's why you should follow her at New Age Rage on Instagram so you can see everything she's up to and all the new projects and latest brilliance. Before my chat with ELOISE, real quick, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy the show, please share with other vinyl and design freaks. You can leave a 5-star iTunes review. Hit the donate button. Everything is at DesignFreaksPodcast.com. You can follow me at _DesignFreaksPodcast on Instagram, and you'll find it all in the old link tree. So I've got some great interviews coming up and some mini-sodes, etc. So go ahead and subscribe so you get the notification. And as always, for other music-related podcasts, please check out ruinousmedia.com. Okay, now enjoy my talk with esta bruja del arte y diseñadora de música obscuridad, ELOISE LEIGH.
New Age Rage.
Thank you so much for joining me all the way from Mexico City. Welcome.
Thank you. Hola.
Hola.
Nice to meet you. Mucho gusto.
Nice to meet you. What brings you to... I have so many questions for you. I'm like spiraling out of control right now. But so you mentioned you recently moved there. How is it? How is everything going, first of all?
Yeah, I fully moved to Mexico City last November. Definitely a big move from Berlin. I'm still, I would say, in the settling process, which I know from living abroad before, it takes like at least a couple of years. So I have a lot to do here for sure, things to learn, but there's been some really cool things happening, and I'm definitely don't regret the move. Like, this place is so inspiring. I'm kind of like, it's actually just like overwhelming. So I need to like be slower, which I'm starting to come to a point where I'm covering the basics of being here, and now I need to go deeper and take my time with it. And yeah, but no, I love it here. It's a super cool city. Like, it just started coming up in conversations with people in music or just friends in Berlin. I was like, why do I keep hearing about Mexico City? And then I finally traveled there as a tourist like 5 years ago, and I never forgot it. It was like a big impact kind of trip. That was like, I think I need to live here someday.
Well, you almost have to live there because, like you said, you have to scratch the surface. Yeah.
It's
so
a lot.
How was it going from Germany to Mexico?
Not easy at all. Actually, I'd say it was harder leaving Germany, systemically, I would say, than arriving new to Mexico. There's challenges here for sure, but after I was in Berlin 10 years, so I really went through it in terms of the system of Germany and bureaucracy and visas and all of it. And I just came to a point, I mean, I got through it. I actually got through the big challenges of living there. But there was a point where I was like, but then like the rest of my life, do I want to deal with the system and country? Like, I love Berlin. I love the culture of Berlin. I love a lot of people in that part of the world, but I cannot say that I love the country, like Germany as a country, like the way it functions. And there's some issues I have with it. Just like, it came to a head of like, I don't know if I want to deal with this anymore. Like, I kind of vibed with Mexico. Like, that's been a good thing here. Like, I felt very naturally like already adjusting. There's challenges and things don't work here for sure, but overall the vibe of like the people and the attitude and just there's a lot of other things that matter on top of the bureaucracy that so far I feel better here for sure.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, congrats on your move then, if it's a positive change. And at least you avoided coming back here. So congrats.
That was part of it too. I was like, where else can I go? I mean, I just don't want to live in the US, but it's closer. Actually, that was a reason. It's like Mexico is much closer and I can visit more often.
Yeah.
It's a benefit.
So you're originally from Seattle, right?
I am, which, it was so cool to find out that you do this podcast from Seattle because I've been kind of reminiscing a lot more about Seattle since moving here, actually, and being closer to North America. I was like, there's some things, that it's like always going to be in me. It's like I am from Seattle. As far as I've tried to escape it sometimes, it's like it comes back. Like there's like a full circle thing about that city with me. I don't know.
It's a vortex.
Yeah, my home is definitely Seattle. I grew up till 17 and then I desperately left for college in California. I really at the time it was, angsty teen years. And I can't say I know Seattle like proper. I was from the suburbs in the north. Bothell, you may it's like that's where I grew up, but it's not like it's this American suburbs. It wasn't stimulating. I never connected with it, and I just knew I wanted to leave like as soon as possible after I graduated. But no, there's deeper sides of my Seattle experience that have come up later in my life that I do appreciate. Or when I go back, I still go back and visit. My main family is still there, so.
You can't really escape.
Yeah. You live there, so just like the nature is so specific and special there. It's just you can't find a match. And I've looked, like I've been a lot of places at this point, but Seattle,
the San Juans are like one of the
epic
wonders of the world. It's so beautiful. It's insane. It's
so
like
special.
Okay, so speaking of your college years, can you tell me a little bit about like your creative origin? Is that where a lot of people start out drawing because it's the easiest thing to start doing? But what was your origin for
actually
design?
In Seattle, no, I was taking like art classes as an extracurricular way outside of high school, and I started to gravitate more and more into it. Actually, I was in band, like not a cool band, like cheesy band, like American high school band. Pretty
what
intensively.
Instrument?
I played the clarinet. Yeah. One of like the 20, there's always like 20 clarinetists and like every other instrument. But then I quit it. Actually, I got frustrated in my junior year of high school. I was just I didn't like the music. It was cheesy. It was like I really didn't like the culture with football. This is such an American. I really like it traumatized me. I was like why
playing Moni Moni during halftime
and marching band, like forced to do it. We didn't have a choice, at least at my school. And I was like, why am I doing this?
Am I in the army? What's going on?
It's so weird. It's bizarre. Like no other part of the world does that. I don't know. It was so weird. But I quit because and then I found out about this computer graphics class, which, this is way back. This is going to tell you how old I am, but they literally were teaching Photoshop 2.0, like the literal 2.0. Yeah, I always was curious about like how to use the computer to make graphic. Like I was into drawing and etching and stuff, but like that was the first time I took a computer class teaching me how to draw and use the program, and I pretty much clicked with it. I mean, it's like, of course, made horrible things at that age, but it was like the formative, that class. Yeah, sadly, quitting the band was a good decision, and then I started to become more curious about computer graphics and like how to use technology. But I mean, I always was interested in art, like creating stuff. So that was pretty natural.
Yeah, that's when I learned how to use Photoshop. I had a CS2 from Pirate Bay on my computer that I stole.
CS2, exactly. Like it was beginning of an era, really, like early Photoshop and using fonts, like different. Like I already was doing into like, I mean, it's super nerdy, but in school, I would spend a lot of time on the layout of things, like a book report, let's say, or a report of science or something. Doesn't even relate to art, but it would be like, I'm picking the fonts out. It took me a long time. Like the presentation of whatever the content was something I was spending a lot of time on.
Oh my God.
That's when you know there's something else going on there. It's like, why do you care about what color the font is? And it's like, no, but I do care. Like, I'm not going to hand this in if I don't like how it looks.
You're like, everything is an album cover. You don't
Yeah,
understand.
it
has
was
to be.
it was like, so I'd spend hours like on these details and I would just be like, what am I
Wow.
doing?
Well,
So
you
the designer was in there.
You may
For
not have
sure.
realized you were putting your 10,000 hours in. You're, getting good. You're
Yeah.
mastering something.
Yeah.
Your work is like some of
Obsessing.
my favorite. And I'm obsessed with your work. And everyone I've told that I'm talking to you is like freaking out. They're
What?
like, oh my God, I can't wait to listen. And
Whoa.
because the art it's such a great example for example, I know you've worked for other labels too, but the Dark Entries artwork is such a great example of how to create cohesion through visual and musical aesthetics,
Yeah.
like combining them into one thing. And that's what my show is about like
Yeah.
putting a spotlight on all the visuals we know and that we associate with music, because in our culture, in my opinion, I think, and musicians do deserve a lot of credit, but it's almost like we're so obsessed with musicians. And
Mhm.
a lot of times the reason why we're drawn to the record in the first place is
Yep.
that they were able to achieve that
Yeah.
locked in, perfect look. And a lot of times labels having one designer or two designers and creating that cohesion
Yeah.
is how they're recognizable. And anyways, it's such a great example. And so I'm glad you fussed with your schoolwork.
I know. I
Anyways.
like the name of your podcast actually, because I think it explicitly picks up on that you have to be kind of a freak. Like if you're into this kind of stuff, like there's a freakish nature to it of obsessing or just picking up on things that maybe others don't see about music or visuals or design. And it's like, yeah, you have to kind of be in tune with all of that.
Yeah, and it's
so I
also
appreciate you noticing. I had
Oh
no
my
idea.
gosh.
That's just cool. I mean, as I said, it's like, this is the first time I've ever heard anyone ever want to talk to the designer.
Oh my God. That's all I think about. It's all I want to do. Anyway, your work is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
So more about your work. So process, I'm so curious about, and I know it's probably different for different projects, but I got to ask the boring analog versus digital question, or blend of both. And also I know that you're great, and Dark Entries is great about the sustainability. So you do a lot of one color or two color stuff. I want to know everything all at once. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. It helps me to think about it too. I come from, and I think I was thinking about this, like this really influences my processes. I come from books, like book design and the print world. So like ink on paper, that's my fetish. Like it's like, I've always been drawn to just like the physicality of books and ink on paper and all the things you can do just with that. There's like so much just within those boundaries. And so I come from a print background, and I also am inspired very much by print processes and techniques of the past. Like the more analog stuff is just like still my favorite, like screen printing or intaglio or printmaking. Like that's the whole, that's the thing right now, and I love it. Just all these different tools that people have been using a long time. But I do use digital tools. Like it's more about time these days. Like, of course, I'd love to like sit down and like lecture set, I don't know, but it just is like, there's just no time for, like, that's where the process has changed for all of us, I think. Like the expectation of how much time something takes to make, which kind of sucks sometimes too, because it's like, well, sometimes maybe I do, like, something should take 5 months and you just like sit there and work on the details. But So there's like, yeah, attention with that. But I still like to use because they created a look also, like the technology of the past has a certain look that you can replicate in Photoshop in some ways, but you have to know, yeah, there's some tricks and things that I might use. But scanning, this is like, I need to get this sorted in Mexico, but that was a big tool I had. I use a lot, like just ink or drawing and then scanning and manipulating that. Or I like textures a lot. And so like actually in place of a scanner right now, I like just walking around, especially like a place like Mexico City, the urban landscape, just there's so many things like just broken textures on the wall. Or I used something recently, it was like such a cool pattern created with like a piece of tape on a window on the reverse side. It's like so weird, but a designer would see that. And I was like getting like on my phone camera. I don't have that like high technology, but even with that, you can do a lot.
So you can
like
bitmap it and layer it.
Totally. Contrast it. Yeah, exactly. So like picking up organic textures just from walking around, but then like using Photoshop or some ways to digitally manipulate it to get that like inky graphic look. I do like black and white. I've always loved high contrast graphics. So anyway, any tool that can be used to create those kind of looks, like a rougher look, I do prefer.
I feel like I wrote in my notes that you've perfected digital decay.
That's really nice. Wow. Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
And like layering it and knowing how to use color, a good color story, and sticking with a minimalist color story and knowing how effective that is. And you definitely have an eye for combining elements, like combining textures, combining fonts, font pairing. Did you teach yourself that? I mean, where do you even learn that? Just from experience?
Like typography, I do love a lot. But I'm also critical of it too. Like I don't just use whatever's trendy. I notice like what is trendy sometimes, and I'm just like, well, does it fit? Like it definitely has to fit a style or vibe with the music or artist or whatever the book or whatever the content is. Like I'm not just going to use something because it looks cool. That's actually a big element, I think, in my design philosophy and process is like, no, I'm not just going to do it even if I know that's like what may seem cool, like I see it being thrown around, but like if it doesn't fit the content or the concept, then I can't do it. So I think like a lot of research or just knowing like a style or knowing kind of like an audience, but it's not always so clear. It's like subcultures too. Like there's certain graphic language already, and especially with music, it's so tied to subculture. So if you know like if this is a post-punk album, there's already elements that are going to speak to that audience and culture that I pick up on and combine maybe, but I might make it a little more modern or freshen it. So it depends, because sometimes it does, maybe if it's wants to look like it's straight out of the 80s, I can definitely do that style, but sometimes it might not. It's a newer album, so maybe we don't want to reference like looks like a copy of The Cure or something. Like you want to like make it something new, but still tied to like those origins or that culture. Like the subculture, has to be strong. That can determine a lot of the look or the design direction.
Where do you get inspiration, or do you? Is there a label designer or somebody that you look to? I mean, I hate the who inspired you question, but I guess it's probably a lot of people, right?
I don't. I'm really bad actually at like thinking of particular names or people. I don't like the styles that I'm interested. There's definitely music has always been a point of inspiration, just like my personal preferences gravitating and then seeing the album covers or the style and kind of absorbing that. And I don't know, it just comes out there. I guess definitely there's some labels I have huge respect for. I mean, there's the classics of like 4AD.
4AD. Okay, so I almost said that. You pulled that out of my head.
Classic, like these are iconic labels that had a super strong look. I actually really like IDM. Like I was a big Aphex. I mean, I'm all of it, like that era, and they all established kind of this futuristic technology thing in the kind of 2000s. I mean, all of it, like Boards of Canada, IDM, that
Yeah.
whole just Amon Tobin, like there's this whole
Yeah,
era of just
Ninja
kind of,
Tune, remember that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it had this kind of like futuristic, spacey sci-fi, but it was like its own thing. Like they created this whole brand. I don't even, if that, I don't like that word, but like, you know, it was like
Yeah.
this look,
Identity or
this
whatever.
style. Exactly.
Are you
So
into
yeah,
the
I see that.
techno
Yeah,
culture?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Yeah, like
raves are back.
definitely a raver. I moved to Berlin a lot because of that, because I wasn't finding it. And I was in the Bay Area before, and
Mm,
I still love the Bay Area, but it was like not, electronic music isn't quite the same in the US as it was in other, like Europe is just further ahead in the culture of it, and
mm.
the music's better. Like,
Yeah.
but no, it's changing. There's a lot. This is just coming up. There's a lot of crossover now, but like at the time, yeah, no, I moved to Berlin because of that, and wanted to be more involved with like rave culture there. Also, just be inspired. It was very inspiring to me. I remember
Mhm.
my first time going to like the clubs of Berlin. I mean, everyone
Wow.
has those stories, but it really made it. It was like, wow, this is my place. These are my people. This is like, it really clicked for me. Also, experiencing electronic music properly, because you
Yeah.
can't just, it's not really the same. You need like good sound system and a good space, and like rave culture also depends on the people
Mhm.
around you, like that community feel, or like people that get it with you. It's not
Mm,
just, you know, there's a lot of kind of cues around it that, if you're into it, you pick up on it. You're like, once it all comes together in these
mhm.
it's like an experience. It's really,
Wow.
it makes a lasting impression for sure. Yeah, no, but there's I like a lot of styles too. It's not like, I mean, I do respond very much to electronic music, but I know it depends on the mood and the situation. Like I like ambient and deep listening.
Mm.
Like I said, IDM. I like these super kind of, I don't know, just like meditative experiences with music as well. So yeah, dark entries, like we do reissues where then I'm just like the production, or like, you know, making the art fresh again, and I might add like a new label or insert, but I can't take credit for like that's the original design reproduced
Well, let's
fresh
talk. I
again.
want to talk about
Yeah, that's
reissue
like a
design because,
process thing. Yeah,
and then
totally.
also
It's
how you
different.
hooked up with Gwinnell. How is that? How you say Gwinnell?
Yeah, Gwinnell is the other, yeah, a designer we work with a lot.
Okay.
I mean, that I have to, yeah, this is a big, like, the Dark Entries connection with Josh was really special. I'm very thankful that it's lasted this long, and we've been through so much together at this point. It's really
Wow.
like, yeah, like collaboration that spans ages and styles and experiences. But both of us, I think, met due to obsession, like with this kind of music. I actually, it's a long story, but it was through radio that I
Mm.
heard one track off of my local radio station, pirate radio station in San Francisco, that led me down this like wormhole. Like I just was, it was, yeah, you should know this song was OTO. Anyway, it's a very French cold wave, like it triggered something in me that I had to like find out what the song was. Then it led me to like this other radio show in New York at the time, Minimal Wave, which is still a big influence on a lot of people in this kind of synth, underground synth world. And then I heard Josh as a guest on her show, Veronica's show. And I didn't know anybody in San Francisco at the time into this music. So I was like, whoa, I have to meet this person, because I was like just discovering it all. And I was like, why is there nothing in the city? But there was. And so I tracked him down through
Mhm.
an email, and I was like, I just heard you, I need to know more.
Ah.
And he's like, oh, come to this event at the Knockout. It was like a dark wave night, knocked music. My God, I just remember that. And it was maybe like 20, 30 people, like very small, but very cool group of
Mm.
people just devoted to this specific kind of synthy music. And so it just started a whole thing. And like, we basically like, oh, I was like at the time I was working for a book publisher, but this was like a hobby to me to like, I was like, I'm a graphic designer. If you can use my skills, let me know. And he was like just
Wow.
starting the label. Like the timing was really good where he realized, oh, he does need help. A lot of labels, I think they may not realize that if you run a music label, like how much design work is involved. So there was the timing was uncanny, and it was just like, well, here I am, and it worked out from there. It was like pretty awesome. He definitely is the label head of like curating and finding the bands. He has that obsessive nature where he will track something down, and the taste as well, to like know when it's a band that deserves a reissue. Like a lot of it is kind of uncovering these bands of the past that made like one cassette that 100 copies that 5 people heard. I don't know. It's like very, but then it's like amazing.
The Solid Space
right. These discoveries,
so
the music's so good, and you're just like, how did this get lost? Well, but then you just learn about the music business and how unreally, like, it's just so unfair to so many artists. But that's a whole nother discussion. But like, anyway, tracking down in this obsessive way to reach the band or the masters or so many other obstacles he has to go through. So he takes care of all that. I'm on the receiving end after he decides on a project or a reissue to put it all together physically, like get the old files and refresh them as a reissue, or sometimes there's parts missing, or there's like one photo and that's it, and you have to like create something around that. So it's like it's kind of more almost like music archeology, because it really is a historical preservation side of it that comes into play. And like respecting the original too.
And it's it's kind of an aspect of archiving, because you're preserving in a way by updating a little bit. I feel like so sometimes there's you have to fill in the blanks, or you add an insert, or you are able to add to the original design. Are there like licensing issues with the original artists, or how does that work?
Like that for sure has come up, or that's Josh gets to handle all of that, the fun stuff and contracts and rights. But usually, they're like the artists are, if they're still alive, some are not, will, like they check everything and make sure it looks right. And there's definitely a lot of like points in the process to make sure that we all feel like this is of the right quality, because it does come down, like when it is a reissue, I feel like a lot of it, at least for me as a designer, like there's a respect side of it. Like I want to make sure it looks as good as it can be to come back in the world when it maybe didn't have a chance back then, or this is the time, or something I can do is to like give that back to them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Music. Have you ever been contacted by, or have contact with the original artist?
I mean, through Josh as a team, like I can't think, well, definitely
if they're alive,
there's like appreciation, for sure, actually. It's the ones that are thankful that they can even have this happen, because it's interesting to see how artists, like a lot of things they may have made when they're 20 or 30 or something, and then it gets forgotten, and then we're contacting them when they're like 60 or 70. And it can be kind of emotional for them too, like brings up a lot of like their history of their creation. Maybe, some of them they devalue themselves, or it can go both ways. It can be like, oh, I didn't realize like I made something like worthy of being repressed, or others are very aware of like, wow, finally someone sees like my work like that. It took this long, but wow, now's like a moment. And that can be tricky too, because then there's like this, like, I have my time to shine, and you have to like manage the ego side of that.
What took you so long?
And we're not like, Universal. We're a small, still an indie label with very obscure audience and taste. So it can be a balancing act in that sense, but all of the music, like I personally, I think it's worth it. Like they're good artists, even if some of them can be difficult. Like for sure artists can be difficult, but like the music and the quality, like I always am like, well, but that does deserve to get repressed or get put back into the world.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I ordered my Nervous Gender
That one's
record,
insane.
and
Yeah,
I know, I'm like,
that one is
I
crazy.
wonder if she got to talk to Paul Rossler. But
That's super special.
oh
Yeah,
my God, I can't wait because the packaging, I'm obsessed with
that's a
packaging, as
big
you can
one. Yeah.
imagine, and I cannot wait to get my dirty hands on that.
Yeah. Yeah. As a designer, you're going to freak out. Like, I was
Oh,
like, what, all this stuff they made, and it's like,
wow.
have to print it again.
That is so cool. What a great opportunity to get to work with those files. Like that artwork was already made, everything?
Yeah. Well, most of it, it's coming from a file that we have to like, I have to clean up or make it. Some of it's by hand, so you have to scan it properly and get the digital side of that, the layout together, and then maybe put it together differently because it's a new package. So like the cover will be original, but then when you open the gatefold, that you'll see is like a collage of all these different things. So that's like me having to put it all together. Or there's a zine with this one, which is really cool. That's like a reproduction of how it was originally with a few additions. So it's just a lot of material like to get through. But I love those kind of projects where it's not just the record, but there's like a whole world around this band, like all these other things they created, posters, flyers, sketches, lyrics. It's just like, I think that's also very special about kind of reissues, because so much content was created. If the band has a strong identity and they were, creative in that way, there's like, it's like a whole treasure chest of stuff.
Yeah, it's not just music. It's almost like music is one component of this art project. I know people want to hear like about Patrick Cowley because that is such a special thing. Was that artwork already created, all of that stuff, or did you create that look and feel for
the early one, the first album? School Days. That was me, but it was working with, I think we had a photo, so there was some imagery and the collage inside, which is a nice XXX version. Yeah, I have a lot of experience with that at this point, but like I've seen everything. But no, there's a lot of content, and that's another good example of a reissue where Josh discovered like this treasure chest of material, and like, okay, this has to be made into an album. But then putting it all together. So like, I remember, this is a while ago, but I took like the body, there's like a nice spread. It was just perfect for like filling the spread of the gatefold when you open it, of like a man's chest. And I don't know, just things really fit with that. Like, the photo of his face, this iconic face, and then the spacey quality, because it was like this spacey disco era, and the like softcore porn. But it all worked together. And I remember like the labels were really fun, kind of to get this like cheesy School Days, like school notebook style. But then the later releases were Gwinnell, so that's when we really started to collaborate with Gwinnell. He's another artist. He's actually a collage artist, like devoted to fine art, but has this amazing style, graphic quality that works, and very into like retro lettering and patterns. Like, it works so well with that era, and it was perfect.
Did he do the mailbox? Because it's making me
he did. Yes,
I love that.
That's such a good one. I know, that's really good.
So
that's all good now. He's perfect for Kelly.
Wow. So cool. I have to tell you, and I don't know if he did this one, but I'm sending you an email of when I was first ideating for my my graphic for my show. For this podcast, I came up with all these different designs, and I copied a bunch. I did parodies, but they were more obscure. And so I just sent it. I don't know if you got it, but
oh no, I see it. Okay. Oh yeah, totally.
So that was one of the examples. Cool. So I had to show you that I copied.
That's the style. But it's nice. I like it. It's
just a draft. It's like you can see where I joined the shapes and stuff. It's
Euro
style always.
Yeah.
What else about Patrick Cowley? Because did that kind of spark some other reissues too? Like, is that related to the Sylvester stuff? Because visually it looks like it.
Yeah, well, like Josh definitely comes, well, he's queer and comes from a
Mm-hmm.
queer male perspective. And Callie did unleash sort of this, I think that's when he started to do more Italo and more disco era. Also to like discovering how much hadn't been, kind of lost and what needs to be shared again. There's just a lot of material within queer culture as well, from like, I mean, his focus is maybe California 70s, 80s, but yeah, and Sylvester also comes from San Francisco. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you are like obsessed in this way to know about these musicians and people, like I would say the mainstream does not know about any of it. And so it's like conflicting, because like to us it's like, well, yeah, these are like the icons of this
Mm-hmm.
genre or this time period, but really like in the bigger picture of the world, like no, not many people know about these people and like what they were doing, and also the AIDS era, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
reflecting on people that got lost during that time period,
Mm-hmm.
or should be revisited in context of that and like
Mm-hmm.
given their due. And it just impacted a lot of culture too, that I don't think they've ever been recognized when they were alive. And they
Wow.
should be. And the music's great. It's like a bottom line for me too, it's like it's just good. It's like good art.
It's just good. It
We
just
need that, even
is.
it's from the past, and it's like it can help us to connect from with these people that, they made such amazing things.
Well,
It's
both you and
inspiring.
Josh are doing such a service to like, I mean, just
It is,
shining a
yeah.
light on all this stuff. It's just like so awesome. I know there's a lot of reissue labels, but I feel like I gravitate so much to the weirdness.
I wish, yeah, Joshua should be next to me, but he
I know.
definitely, it's a big, I respect it a lot too. Like it's very passionate. It's
Mm,
from a personal place. I think that's probably why you notice it too. It's not just like to make, definitely not to make money or to like
mm,
try to be famous, and, you know, just because these artists should be famous or something. It's really passionate at the root of it, to like give them their due, and pay respect to the people, to the artists before us that
mm.
did so much and never got recognition for it.
I know, and it's also just fun. Like it's
Yeah,
fun and
it's cool.
joyous to me to just like learn about this stuff. So, okay, getting back to the zine thing. So, I read that you taught zine making workshops.
No, I definitely have over the years. I wish it, no, it never was a regular thing. It was like one
Oh
off in this
yeah.
situation or with a friend that. So zines, yeah, zines are another branch of my design world. Like, I focus mostly on records now, but still my histories with books, and I still, that's actually like that's where I really I become a design freak. And so zines are kind of this in between place, because
Mhm,
zines relate to music. There's a
mhm,
whole, yeah, culture of zines came from music, a lot of it. But so my personal projects, like not for clients or labels, are going back to zines. And through that I've met people or had opportunities. It's coming, well, maybe it never went away, but I feel like there's a little more attention
mhm.
being given to them,
Definitely.
um,
Mhm,
as like the value they have in culture,
mhm,
and creating these like safe spaces for people
mm,
to explore just anything. But when you give a person that space and like time
mhm,
and inspiration, it's like, wow, everybody becomes, they can just make this incredible thing. Like zines are such a good format to explore so many topics and feelings, and like,
mhm,
yeah, so I'm interested in that. I've worked with kids. I really like, that's a little also sidebar of like, children have a lot of inspiration for me too, but
mhm.
also women specific. Or I think the last one I did was in Berlin with my friend Nessa. It was really fun. It was like horror scenes. I'm a big
Ooh,
horror
I love
fan,
me too. I'm in a horror
and it
book
was,
club.
I love horror
Yeah, yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah. And zines were such a great format to bring like a group of women together
Ugh.
and kind of be empowered by their messages through zine making. It was just like, whoa, how is this happen? This is so, comes together so perfectly. Like it was very,
I
very
was
cool.
looking earlier at
Blood dreams.
I had to
Yeah.
say it like that. But the zine
Yeah,
of
there's the
menstrual
very personal.
dreams,
That's
so
very
cool. And it's
personal.
all red and
Yeah.
black. It's
Yeah.
so awesome. Yeah, it's a great format.
Yeah.
And a great outlet. Everyone should
And
make
more
one.
like free. Yeah. For designers, sometimes you get caught up in like, I mean, there's just rules or things and you need to follow. And a zine can be, well, I am a perfectionist, so it's still torture in other ways, but like it allows me to explore these definitely like off the radar ideas, or just like have fun again and be sloppy, which is harder. Actually, that's very hard for me. If you're a designer, you understand.
Yes.
Like get more messy and it's, it triggers a lot of other process things that I don't do in my professional work. So it's like helps with that.
Yeah, it's important as a designer to also do some capital A art and give yourself permission to be like do a punk thing.
Exactly.
Like that's just willy-nilly or whatever, because you do get so uptight. I do.
Definitely.
There's so many rules.
No, I need it. And sometimes you're like, well, can I actually a fun project. I don't think I've gone fully to publishing something, but like in a sketchbook or whatever, just like purpose, or even Photoshop, whatever, digitally, purposely make something bad. Like I actually love quote unquote bad design is like super inspiring in a lot of ways. Like, or just like design that doesn't have, that you can see a designer didn't do it.
Naive design.
It still exists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in that. Like children go in that category for me. Like what they create, it's not coming from like someone who knows form and whatever, but there's something about it, like the naive or the very primal kind of visual response that I need to get back to sometimes, or like force myself to like go back into like childlike state of mind or something and play around again.
I ask all my guests, what is the first record cover you remember, first album that really struck you and it just really stayed with you?
Okay. I prepared for this because I was like, I really have to like dig back. And I have two answers. So one thing I remember was the first album that I liked enough that I bought myself, like with my own money. I think it was like 13 or something. And it's very Seattle story. I was on a trip in Port Townsend. Have you been there?
Oh yeah, I love Port Townsend.
With the ferry.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got this kind of hippie, and this was like late 90s or 90s. So it was very much that time in Seattle or Pacific Northwest. And it's so cheesy. So this is the only time I'll ever talk about it. But it was very like, I mean, I chose it out of the stack, and it's a cassette tape. Back then it was cassettes for me. I chose it out of this whole stack of cassettes. I don't know why I picked it, but it was called Sacred Earth Drums. Like super new age and kind of inappropriate, like actually very inappropriate now that I'm older, and I'm like, oh my God, they like totally, like it's like two white men that made this album called Sacred Earth Drums, and it's like they appropriated like dream catchers. It's like horrible.
Oh, no.
Like all of the rules broken if you're a designer. But at the time, it's an era, of this place and time. I was a teenager. I was like, whoa, Dreamcatcher.
There's a lot of Port Townsend that is inappropriate. Let me just say this right now.
It's like a whole, like really, it's like, of course, I'm a Seattle kid. I'm going to like that kind of stuff. And I did. I was like, Dreamcatchers. I liked it. I was into the concept, and it had this Dreamcatcher Earth collage. So cheesy. I wouldn't say it's a good design at all, but it impacted me enough where I was like, whoa, I want this tape. I want this. And then I liked the music. It was like kind of tribal, rhythmic. But it was like the beginning of something. Oh my God,
I'm looking at it.
It's so bad. Don't follow it for design, at all. But
the algorithm's gonna punish me. But oh my God, it's worth it.
And the font, oh my God. I mean, I looked at it again preparing for this. I was like, oh my God, why did I like that so much?
And the cave drawings. There's like cave drawings.
But I was like interested in that. I mean, I came from like Seattle New Age. I was into like native art. Like I liked it.
Right.
I was like dream catchers, beading. For sure. I'm gonna admit
Right.
that. I was
Well,
like
this is the
from that.
Duwamish. We have so many tribes
Yes.
here, and there really is
Yes.
amazing art. I used to
It's
work at
so much art.
Seattle Art Museum, and they probably had
okay.
no business having the
You
things
get
they
it.
owned, but
Yeah.
where did
Yeah.
these come from? But,
Yeah. But you understand, no, it's visually
Oh.
like inspiring. All the native culture and art of the Pacific Northwest is huge.
Mhm.
Graphic, so graphic too. Like, no, there's plenty to critique about it, but that was like an album cover. Yeah. That was very early, but I got better taste, I have to say. When I went to university, I found out this radio station changed my life. Like a radio station at the university, I went to UC Davis, still like friends from this period. We're all like connected from this radio station, KDVS. And it really changed my life because it gave me access to like music. Like they had a whole vinyl library, they had old cassettes and CDs. It's just like listening rooms. So when you discover that for the first time, it's just like all access to everything. And a very prominent album for me was something I actually found in the dollar bin at Amoeba Records. If you're in the Bay Area, it's a big record store chain. And I grabbed it like last minute, rushing because my friend had to leave or something. I remember being like, but I just want to get something. So it struck me in this like super quick span of time, and it was $1. So I was like, whatever, I'll just check it out. And it ended up being Dark Day. I'm actually wearing the shirt. I totally forgot. This band. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude, this is like a formative band for me because Dark Day, yeah. This is like Dark Entry, so there's a whole connection with Dark Entries about it. But this wasn't the cover, but the cover of the CD was this like blurry. I don't know why I liked it. I was just like, this looks cool. It was like black and white, blurry, something I picked up somehow at that age, even then on this like post-punk no wave. It's a no wave band from New York, 80s, and then listened to it. Freaked out because it was like really what I was interested. Like I just immediately got hooked. It's his face, Robin Crutchfield, but it was the CD that I bought like for that album cover. But later, so a few years later, when I moved to San Francisco and met Josh and everything, it turned out he was reissuing this band as like the second or third project we worked on together, and I couldn't believe it because I was like, wait, what? This band is like changed my life. Literally, I can say like after I listened to that album, like I got super into no wave, dark wave, post-punk, all of it, like a gateway band for me. And then he had this image of super cool. Yeah, as a graphic, I love it. And we made a zine that wasn't made before, but using the artwork. This is original artwork. And it came together with like his original reissue of Window, which is like the class. It was just like too much. I was like, this is too coincidental. Like that I meet this person who knows this band. Yeah, a lot of people have forgotten, but certain bands like changed my life deeply. And so this band and the graphics are for sure like some of the earliest for me that led me down that path.
Window has like that pink color, kind of a salmon pink. Yeah. That's cool.
And then we added this zine. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a great album too.
Musically. I love the element of adding a zine instead of just an insert of like, how do you decide what goes in it? You just found all this ephemera and you just want to include it.
I mean, some of the like some of them, there's just a lot of unpublished interviews or like graphics, photos that you want to like do something with it. This was a time when we had more time in the beginning, like to make a zine. Like this was screen printed. Like we were freaks. Like we hand screen printed the zine, and then I remember he found a news printer and we got this like really raw paper. It was just like we had more time back then to do that kind of level, but there's just the releases. Some we put a little more time and effort into. If the band has like Nervous Gender has like that much material, but like it does take a lot of extra work and time, so it has to be very worth it, like special. But I love zine, so it's like when we can do that, he knows like I love it. It's like, well, that's like my niche, that's my strength. So like,
Ugh.
it's the best. Yeah.
Well, I am so inspired. I hope that this interview will inspire other designers out there.
I'm a big print is not dead.
No.
It's definitely not.
I think print's job has changed, but it is more precious now.
Yeah,
but it's not dead. Never. It's the best.
Yeah, it's I think like what you were saying, going back to printing techniques, like risograph has changed everything right now. If you're into art books or print or zines or illustration, it's insane.
So awesome.
I love it though. I'm a big fan.
But I also just want a straight up Xerox machine.
Yes, that seems harder to find that. And you need one that's kind of like broken, like that has like missing ink or just old, like an old Xerox machine, not too clean and perfect. That's almost impossible. I mean, yeah, that would be a nice tool.
It's always like, I always hear a story about like, yeah, this church was just giving it away, or, you know, it's like, God, why am I never
like, where can I find those places? Yeah.
You just got to always be obsessing at going to estate sales and paying attention.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So that's your favorite method, those kind of screen print, tactile.
I like the look. Yeah. The look that those machines create, or recreating it somehow another way. But I definitely, I like that old school printing technique.
So anyways, what else do you want people to know? My legion of design freaks.
I mean, that's, for me, I think I'm thankful to stay inspired by design is also just participating in the cultures. Like, my I don't know, I have more experience, or my talents or whatever are like in the visual world, but like experiencing, or if it's in music, obviously go to the shows, meet the musicians, listen to music alone, really listen, like pay attention, enjoy all of the things that design, because design is like a piece in usually these bigger communities, and art as well. But I think experiencing, the more you experience, and I think designers have this weird thing where I think we just absorb a lot. We're always like kind of in tune with culture or things, fashion, things happening, trends, without even realizing it. But a part of that is just because you're like, you don't realize what's going to inspire you later. So like the more you travel or like meet different people or go to those weird art shows, like it comes full circle in a weird way into your work. So that's like I've been lucky with that. Like I've had some amazing life experiences just participating in the music culture, but all culture, to be honest. Yeah. Like my life is to live in other countries as well. Like that's a huge part of my design world as well, to be experiencing
travel,
those differences. Yeah.
Meet people.
Totally.
Don't be like me and a hobbit.
or like nature travel. I mean, it could be just like taking a walk in a park with the designer eye, you know, like it's a different thing than just like a casual walk. Yeah.
And also do drugs, because it helps.
That can be very inspiring. I absolutely agree.
It can. And thank you so much for sharing all that. And where do people find you if anyone is not familiar with your work?
I know. I was like, wow, you're like I told you, this came in a time where I literally took my online site down because I'm in the process of just like updating it after 10 years or something. It's ridiculous. But so Instagram, New Age Rage, which is my name.
Where does
that's my name for my personal. It was the name of my radio show in Berlin. But it morphed into a zine, my zine world, like self-publishing. It's all under that right now, the Instagram page. But I will have a website, I hope, by the end of the year, but it's like in the process.
Oh yeah, it's always a process. Is that radio show anywhere online?
It is in the archives of Berlin Community Radio. Ooh. The Mixcloud. I can find the link. I'll send it to you. It's like way in the archives, but Berlin Community Radio there was like a 5-year time in Berlin. Such good people and shows. Yeah, everything's on Mixcloud, I think, still. No, it'd be cool to meet.
Yeah, I would love to meet. Hit me up and maybe I will make it down to Ciudad one of these days.
Everyone needs to come to Mexico. Literally why I'm here. Like, please visit, everybody. Just come. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'll give you back your
Yeah.
day. Yeah, really enjoyed our
Thank
talk.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you as well. I know it's a lot of work what you're doing, and I respect it a lot.
Oh, thank you.
It's
You
important.
too. A labor of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Bye.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.